Welcome to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and today we have a special guest by the name of Mrs. Courtney Rozier. How you doing, Courtney?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. For those who don't know who you are, please let us know who you are.
Great. So I am Courtney Rozier. I'm a licensed realtor in the Atlanta, Georgia market. And I also am the founder of a contract to close company called Time Freedom TC. And I also am the founder of the TC Playbook, which is training for women that aspire to own their own TC business as well.
Just women? No men?
Well, no, it's not just women. However, women are my niche. As you know, the riches are in the niches. So my target is women because I'm a woman. And some of the reason why it was so important for me to launch my training program is because there were some unique situations when we had the pandemic that a lot of women and men dealt with. But one of the things being logistics, of when the schools decided to shut down with no notice last year. I didn't have a care in the world about logistics for my kids. I have a company that allows me to work from anywhere, newborn proof, baby proof, homeschool proof, I'm able to do it. So it's just, it appeals to women for some of the set of circumstances that a lot of women encounter.
Got you. Cool. So where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Chicago.
The Chi.
I guess you could say I'm a nectarine. I've been in Atlanta for 20 years. It'll be 21 years in December. So I have been here a long time, but I'm always going to represent Chicago as well.
Got you. So when did you start your business?
Which one?
The transaction coordinating business. Okay.
So I officially launched Time Freedom TC in 2018. However, I started my TC business kind of on accident. I became a licensed realtor in 2015. And I decided to go into real estate sales because I had been in corporate America. And my kids at the time, I have a set of twins, they were going to be starting pre-K that following year. And I had only been back to work like a year. I had stayed home with them until they were almost 2 years old, went back to work finally, got there, and I was no longer the corporate bae that I had been in previous years. I was the corporate darling, if you will. I was the boss come in from out of town, want to have dinner on the boss or drinks and, big group of people. I'm the one that was always able to be there. I was the one always able to stay late for budget season. I worked in commercial real estate as a property manager. And I was moving up in the ranks. So I thought I really loved my career. But after I had kids, I had changed. I no longer gave a damn about moving up and making more money. I was more interested in the intangible things like being available for my family, being able to be there for my kids if they were sick or whatever reason for field trips without guilt. So after that first year, I began to brainstorm on what can I do that's more flexible. I had a plan, like a 5-year plan to at least work from home 3 days a week. I remember posting that on Facebook. And I have the receipts to prove it. I'm a oversharer on social. So
okay.
I have those things. And so, I decided to get licensed. And when I got licensed, I thought that realtors took winters off. They worked really hard in the spring and summer, had winters off. I had this idealistic view of the work involved in being a realtor. And I got into it, loved it. Had I got into it in my 20s, it would have been on and popping. But again, I got into it for the flexibility to be there for my kids. That was my why. I was gone more as a realtor than I was obviously as a corporate bae. So, and I had the opportunity to be around some really heavy hitters here in Atlanta. One being my mentor that actually gave me the seed to become a TC. And, it's easy to get caught up in, oh, these are top producing agents. They making 300,000 and up. It's not even just six figures. It's like, I want that. But I had to step back and realize that that's not the station in my life, so I created this opportunity as a TC. My mentor, as she was mentoring me and training me, we realized that I really took a liking to the contract to close process, the contracts. I'm a Virgo. I tend to be very analytical. I like predictability, black and white procedural stuff. And so as we got into that, she naturally started to pay me to do her transaction coordinating. And this is before we even knew that that was an opportunity, that was actually a position. She just started paying me to do it. So that happened in like 2015. And so, like I said, I formally started the business in 2018, meaning open it up to other clients, actually legitimize my business and things like that. But I've been doing it since 2015. So that was long story long. That is how long I've had my business. And I still practice real estate as well.
Got you. So how do I want to unpack it, right? Why not try to pursue the real estate business more? Mm-hmm. Because most people would seemingly like the ability to make the $300,000.
Absolutely.
So what was it that kept you from pursuing that?
It was my why. My why, again, was to be available. So as a realtor, if you want to make that kind of money, you need to, for a while, work weekends. I mean, now you can hire people to help you with things, but you don't have the time that you think you have. You have more time away from home. I didn't want to be away from home. So for me, it was identifying my why and staying focused on that, not focused on the next big shiny thing, which is to, go hard in a real estate space. That's not my space right now. Now, I do have goals in real estate sales. So I work mainly referral based. So I refer people. I like to refer services out in other states to people. I like to make money that way. And I like to just work with sphere of influence, people that know, like, and trust me from social, that relate to me on social. They'll call me to handle their real estate needs or refer me out to their friends and family. I don't really like to go out and try to, get cold leads. And, I'm not trying to be everywhere. I don't even want to get dressed every day. Like I'm good. So it just depends on your why and, your main strengths. This gives me the ability to be home when my kids get home or work around. I have a business that revolves around my life. My life doesn't revolve around my work.
Wow. So before we go too far, what is the definition of a transaction coordinator?
Great. So a transaction coordinator, or TC for short, basically assists a real estate agent in the day-to-day requirements that it takes to get from contract to close. So from contract to close is going to be about 30 days, 30 to 45 days, depending on your market, et cetera. So a transaction coordinator is going to help the realtor stay on top of their broker compliance. They're going to make sure that the realtor gets paid. Our main job is to get ahead of anything that can delay or derail a transaction. So no matter what market you're in, when you receive a contract, it's going to have specific milestones or timelines outlined in that contract. So it's the TC's job to work with the agent to make sure that we are staying in front of those timelines to get things done. So we're like orchestrating this beautiful dance between all parties. So we work with the lender, the title company, or the closing attorney, depending on the market, the co-op agent, the agent. We're making sure if the contract stipulates repairs due 5 days before closing. 5 days before closing, we're reaching out about those repairs to get those receipts if that's the stipulation in the contract. So we're adhering to the contract to get ahead of anything. And, you know, most agent sites get paid at closing. So to me, that's my second main job, you know, besides making sure things are going smooth, also to make sure that we do what we need to do for the broker in order for them to submit that pay at close to the title company so that my agent can get paid and therefore I can get paid.
Got you. So how much time do you think you put into each contract?
I would say that overall, we save an agent between 10 and 15 hours per transaction, depending on their broker requirements, their state requirements, because I don't only work in Georgia. I accept clients nationwide. So every broker, every market's going to be different, but on average, I would say anywhere between 10 and 15 hours per transaction. So that's pretty major.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's how much we spend.
But that's what you say.
That's
Them.
what I say, because we have it down to a science on, you know, how to track these things in an easy way so that obviously we can do that for more than one agent, you know?
Got you. So when you say we, how many people are on your team?
I currently just have an assistant.
Okay.
You know, eventually I would like to grow into an agency where I have other TCs that work with me and that sort of thing. But right now I'm pretty much a one-woman show with an assistant that helps me, you know, onboard my clients, but I'm in my files pretty much every day.
On average, how many files do you think you guys handle in a month?
In a month, we can average anywhere from 30 to 60 files.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 on the lower end. So it is a very, it can be a very lucrative, like I do feel like I'm getting to the point to where I would like to hire, you know, just haven't gotten there yet.
Got you. So in terms of the transaction coordinating business, how do you get paid?
Great question. So the TC gets paid. I personally get paid by, I invoice my clients after the closing. So once the closing happens, we request the final settlement statement, upload it to their broker compliance because that's a compliance requirement no matter where you are. So that is how I complete the file. Once I've done that, I send an invoice, and I do that because I've grown to a point to where I need to be able to track my expenses. I paid high tax, you know, your taxes, you're self-employed. So prior to that, though, I used to, and some TCs still do this, we can also get paid at closing as well. We can put our fee on the pay at close or on the settlement statement and have the attorney cut our check as well, and then have them mail it to us or have the agent deposit. I used to have my agents deposit it into my account after closing. However, that wasn't working for me personally in my business. You know, I'd rather you be able to pay electronically and it's in my accounting system and I'm able to track my payments that way.
Wow. So no Cash App in you, huh?
No, no. Hit me with these new Cash App rules either. No, I don't. I mean, I have like one-offs because we also offer, so the contract to close is our signature flagship.
Okay.
Offer. But, you know, I do offer listing input. So we input listings for clients in both for the Georgia market, in both the Georgia MLS and the FMLS. We handle the descriptions. We upload the photos in order that makes sense. Like we do everything for them. So that's a kind of an add-on service. And so sometimes, the client's like, well, I had somebody cash at me last week, but I don't like to do that because I'm trying to operate my business as a business, which
Right.
requires track your income and, track your expenses and things like that. It wasn't always that way, but, you try to, you grow, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Got you. So the inputting the listings is a separate service than the sales contract coordinator, right?
Correct.
What does something like the listing side cost?
The listing input is $100 a pop. That's payable upon the work being rendered, the service being rendered. So for a lot of agents, that's pennies for what the value that they're getting. They're not having to spend time, uploading, trying to come up with a description. Although nowadays you can say anything on the listing nowadays. Nobody's caring, like they just want to see the house. But we still operate at a high, level. So it's something that they find value in. So we do offer that as well.
So,
and the contract to close, that service is $400 per file. And that is only payable if and when we close. So as you know, most markets, you're going to have a due diligence. You might depend in this market, again, people are doing without, but the buyer has rights to terminate. So, if we terminate, I don't charge the agent a dime. Even if we terminate after I've done all the work, I don't charge them because it doesn't happen enough. It's a negligible occurrence. So I don't currently charge for that. So, so that's how that works as well.
So the business that you offer, essentially, if the realtor uses your services, should allow for their business to grow because those things are tedious things that keep you up late night, right?
Yes, especially if you've been showing property. So let's say I just showed property until 8:00. Now I gotta come home, do some offers, and I haven't been looking at my emails all day. So I've got to go catch up. Oh, the title needed, they didn't get amendment 2. Let me send that. Oh, the lender is conditions. They're asking for exhibit A, whatever, but you have a TC that should be getting copied on all of these. And if you had a TC, that stuff would have already been done. And so what that does is allows the agent to focus more on income producing activities. The agent is still going to have to be an agent. They still have to nurture their client. They still have to negotiate repairs and negotiate on the client's behalf. There are still things that maybe, that I'm copying them on that they may need to do themselves or escalate themselves. But I'm telling you that the time that it frees, that's why the name of my company is Time Freedom. I'm offering time freedom to agents. The amount of time that they're going to be saving can be better used to get that next client, because if not, you're doing all the paperwork and focus on the clients that are right in front of you that are closing. What happens when all of your clients for the month has closed? Now you got to start the hunting all over again because you didn't have time to do that during the contract to close period. So it definitely allows them to focus on what they need to focus on if they're looking to scale their business.
All right. 2020. Do you know how many transactions you helped close?
A lot. 2020 was not okay, so let me just say this. For the Atlanta market, Atlanta was closed about 2 weeks. Realtors were fighting to become essential. If you remember, it was a big deal. It was like, oh no, we're essential. We need to get back out here. my real estate business was one of the best years in 2020. And I'm referral only, so it's like 2020 was great. 2020 was better than 2021, I think.
So that was my next question. How are things in 2021?
2021, 2021 is good. I think that we're lucky to be in this market. I'm lucky to serve this market. I feel like the Atlanta market, first of all, I've been here, like I said, since 2000. Before I got my license, I had been thinking about getting my license for a decade, because one thing that I noticed when I moved here, everybody was flipping houses. And before the crisis and all of that. And I remember noting, like, man, everybody and their mama got a real estate license here. Like, this is like, is it a requisite to get your real estate license when you move to Atlanta? So there are, it's a high number of licensed agents here that are actually working agents. So, 2021 is no different, but I feel like maybe I'm giving 2020 so much credit because I feel like it was designed for us to fail, but people overcame it so well.
I totally understand. So how are you growing your business?
So I handle my TC business similar to the way that I handle the real estate business. I strive to knock my clients' socks off so that they can refer me to other people. And that's worked for me. The other thing that I do is I try to add value on my socials, so that people can see what I do and spark interest that way. Also, I'm a preferred vendor for my brokerage. So I try to, reach out to other brokerages to become their preferred vendor. But I really rely a lot on word of mouth as well. And so I tell a lot of my students, like, all you need is one client. Do your absolute, give 110% every time to that one client, and they will talk about you and refer you. If you're saving somebody so much time and essentially allowing them to earn more money, like, they're going to talk about you. So that's kind of what I do.
Got you. So walk me through the process of actually starting the business.
Okay, excellent. So the process, I like to run the process down, make it more bite-sized. So I like to break it down into an acronym, which is a framework that I have called the Blitz method. So Blitz, this isn't necessarily in order, but I had to make it make sense. So the TC Playbook, let me just say, I came up with the TC Playbook, the name. I know nothing about football really, but one day I was like, I had my husband come draw on the whiteboard, like, what does a play look like? Like, draw, I know, draw that, who does this, who does that? So I think like the TC is like the wide receiver. So we have that contract that we're trying to defend and trying to run it to the goal. Again, I'm not a football person, so if I get something wrong, don't trip, okay? So
Judgment-free zone here.
Okay, judgment-free. So we are guarding that contract. So the agent throws us that contract. We are going down the field, several offenses or potential offenses, that we're trying to get past. So we've got to get through due diligence. Due diligence can either keep going or it can be terminated and be a false start. That's a new one. I didn't even think about false start. So anyway, so once we pass the due diligence, okay, due diligence can be anywhere from, in this market, 3 days to, in a better market, 10 days at the most. And a due diligence is, for those that don't know, time frame in which the buyer can terminate for any reason or no reason at all. So obviously the sellers don't love it, but the buyer does. So we're defending that contract. So once we get past the due diligence period, then the lender will want to order the appraisal. Now the offense there is that appraisal can come in low. Generally, we'll have 21 days or so to get that appraisal back and determine whether it's low or not. If it's low, again, that can be a potential offense that we're defending. So if it is low, then the agent will need to go back to the drawing board and see if they can renegotiate the price to the lower appraisal price, or see if the buyer wants to add more money, whatever they want to do. So get past appraisal. Okay, did the client get their loan commitment? Did they lose their job? We usually have 21 days to get that loan commitment. Again, that can be an offense. The client can have to terminate, for a reason regarding the loan. So those are some of the things that we as a TC are tracking for the agent. We're reminding the lender and the agent of those dates before they arrive. Like, hey, just a reminder, the finance contingency is due, or, the loan commitment is due, the appraisal is due. Where are we? We are there to, make sure that everybody else is on their job. So we have a lot of tasks, but the majority of those tasks don't require us to do a thing. They're just requiring us to alert and alert the parties and make sure that, we are where we need to be. So following all of that, then we have to schedule the closing. That's usually the week before closing. We're working with title. We're making sure that the title is clear. We're making sure that you, the lender, has requested the title. Sometimes it's like, oh, I asked the title about whether the title is clear. They're like, well, the lender hasn't requested title. So then I go back and say, Kevin, where's the title? Or where's the title request? So just things like that. We're orchestrating everything from contract to close that's within that contract. We're not assistants, we are TCs. So we're handling, the assistants help the agent, or they're focused on the agent. We're focused on the contract as a TC. I think, did I answer that? I feel like
you did. No, you're fine. You did a good job. You actually walked us through the process. I've had the experience of working with, not with you directly, but I've had experience of working with transaction coordinators. And I think it's a genius idea, right? While you're right, if you're out showing houses, and then in this market, you could show houses from 9 to 5, and that amendment needs to get in while I'm working as the lender later.
Right.
My operational staff has probably gone home at 5. Yep. And most attorneys probably are not answering emails, or probably doing other things. They don't leave us at 5 like we think they do. So then that doesn't get looked at until the next day.
And you miss a day, you miss a lot, right?
You do.
And so for me now, when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm available when you are. No, I have boundaries now, because I'm focused on the contract. So like you said, your operations person, the title people, we're working during the confines of 9 to 6 generally, where they're requesting stuff. Now I'm still working, but I mean, as far as things that are pressing, that needs to get done during those hours. But we work the same hours as title and processors. We no longer, are working on the weekends and things like that. Now we do work on the weekends. Don't tell my clients that. But, there's nothing that's going to be pressing regarding the contract on the weekend, is the point.
Right. Yeah, that's the key point. So what would be the first thing you would tell someone who's aspiring to be a transaction coordinator? What would be one of the first things you would tell them to do to get the business started?
I would say learn the contract to close process backwards and forwards. Every state is going to have a different, different requirements. I'm not licensed in every state. I'm only licensed in Georgia, but I can pick up Texas contract and know, because I know the contract to close process and I know what I'm needing to track, then I'm comfortable marketing to those agents there. I'm comfortable handling their contracts. So understand the contract to close process. Branding is not as important as the knowledge that you need, and marketing. And by marketing, I mean, not spend. Another piece of advice is don't spend so much time worried about your logo and your branding. You know how many times I changed colors, logos, and and nobody even really care. I mean, if you're not Nike, we're TCs, you're not gonna, you may be on the first. I do have a reputation. I feel like a good reputation in my local market, just as me personally, but people put so much stock in that. And I think that they do that because they feel that that is the exciting part or the easy part or whatever. You got to focus on the knowledge, knowing the process, because you need to know that process to have the confidence to hold discovery calls with agents and to have conviction about the things that you offer, and to understand that you're not selling, you're just telling somebody how you can make their life easier. But in order to have the confidence to do that, you have to understand what transformation you're actually able to give them.
Got you. So if someone is not in real estate and doesn't hold a license, right, but they want to start a transaction coordinator business, how do they learn the closing process?
Well, they can learn it from my course, the TC Playbook. The TC Playbook, this is how I know I went off on a tangent, because I was going to tell you about the framework.
Okay.
So the framework, Blitz, comes from football, but the framework is Blitz. So it's branding, legitimize. So you need to brand your business, legitimize your business, work on your mindset. I call it imagination/mindset, because obviously I needed an I to make it, but really mindset. The mindset gives you that confidence to talk to people and know that you're offering them something. You're not selling them on anything. So understanding that you have to have the mindset regardless of what business you're trying to launch. You have to have, many people are transitioning from corporate America, like I was, to owning their own business, or transitioning from being a stay-at-home parent to owning your own business. There are mindset shifts that you have to have in order for the success to come, so imagination. Then the T is techniques. So that's when we get into the nitty-gritty. So we go over real legitimate contracts, highlight how to count the days, because every market, doesn't matter what market, they count the days pretty similarly. Day one is a certain time, it's a certain science to counting the days that are in those contracts, so that when those contingency periods expire. Understanding the why and the mechanics behind what the agents are doing for the clients to get them to the closing table, and how you're assisting them. So all of that we go over in the techniques module. And then S is for systems. So every system, in techniques, I also have access to every template that I use. I have emails that I send out for every part of the contract. So, I have an intro email. I have an email to the lenders asking specific questions. Never ask them general questions. Ask them specifically, have you ordered the appraisal? When is it due back? Don't just say, hey, I want to get an update on appraisal. You'll never answer me, will you? You might not. So ask specific questions. And then systems, we go over my entire life cycle from attracting. We go over my client attraction system. I call it, establishing your CAST, your client attraction system. And, from getting the client, from your discovery call, I have actual copies of my discovery calls live, how I, the flow of the call. Because again, that's what's going to build the confidence. If like, oh, well, what do I say? Like you said, I'm not a salesperson. So what do you say? So they'll learn all of that. And then, how to, I have a system for what you use when you reached out to me. I have a system for, you don't just call me, you set a time so that I can focus on you, when we have our call. So I have a system for how clients can get in touch with me. I have a system for nurturing the client once they become a client. I have a system for onboarding the client once they send me a contract. Then we have a system for the actual contract. So they'll have access to all of my checklists that I use to keep track of a contract. Currently, I use a software for keeping track of my contracts, obviously, because I oversee a lot of them now. But I would say my first couple of years, like working with, 10 to 15, or my first year or so, 10 to 15 deals at a time, I was still using paper checklists. So it's a very low overhead business to start. Once you, get obviously you want to invest in education of how to do it. But as far as starting your business, I go over free stuff and I go over low to moderately cost systems, that you can use to make things easier.
Wow. So in terms of, I've got my system set up, Courtney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got my logo done, got my slogan, I'm branded. How do I get that first client?
So I always say for any business, this is what they tell you in real estate, sphere of influence. You and everybody know realtors. You might know somebody that's an attorney that's in real estate. You might know real estate investors. People in real estate. Go to them first. They already know, like, and trust you. So go to them first. In addition, you can do direct email marketing, direct DM marketing. I have templates of how to present your services and how to create graphics, to make people look at it, that you can send to people and just say, hey, if you need a TC, like, keep things short and sweet, but also the money is in the follow-up. So you can't just do it one time. An example of that is yesterday, or a couple of times, a young lady had texted me out the blue, like, hey, I work with NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, and I help realtors with their health insurance. And so, open enrollment is coming. I never talked to this lady, right? And so I was ignoring her, like, no, I don't think I said no thanks yet. But today, so I ignored her. Today she sent it, and I was getting ready to text no thanks. And then I looked at my $1,400 health insurance bill, and I said, go ahead and send it. Because she was like, well, I can say, if I'm sure you don't have time, because I reached out a couple of times, you didn't respond. I'm sure you probably didn't have time, but would you like for me to send you the price? If you just tell me your age, your family age, or whatever, I can send you price. I was going to say no, but this time something made me say yes. And now I'm getting ready to transfer. She's saving me. I'm paying half with her. So the point is follow up. If somebody ignored you or, whatever, it may not have been the right time. I'm not saying be a bugaboo, but I'm saying offer value. So, it's not always, so it may be, here's my services, but maybe if you're big on social, if you're a social media person, offer value. What I just talked about with the contract to close process, do a reel about that. I've done that. I get a lot of eyes on it, and it's not about how many comments you get. It's not about, how many likes you get. it's about how many views you got. And that's something that I had to realize as well. Like, ain't nobody liking my stuff, but people are seeing it and you'll be surprised. People will DM you or call you or private message you when the time is right. So you have to not give up and, and follow up. Oh, another thing you can do, everything doesn't have to be on social media. I'm an introvert, so that's my preferred way. I don't really do a lot of networking events, but I had someone in my private group. I have a free group on Facebook called the Work From Anywhere Movement, and it's a free group for aspiring TCs. And I had a young lady on there. She's like, "Oh my God." I had asked a question about what goals did they accomplish or something. And she's like, "I finally got my business cards done and they didn't come out how I wanted them at all. They look horrible. And I'm doing this networking event in 2 days and I don't even have any business cards." I said, "Let me give you a tip. I can't remember. I don't even know where a box of my business cards are. I never pass out business cards because you passing your business cards gives you no control over communicating with that person. So what I do is, which I am kind of green. Like I don't like having a lot of paper and all that. So I say, you know what? I'm green. I don't have business cards. I have an electronic card. Why don't you give me your number so I can send you my card and we'll have each other's information. So now you have a person that you can put in your database. Because I know when people give me cards, if I ever needed their service, I wouldn't know where their card was, So those are just a couple of ways that you can get clients in this market. It's not rocket science. It's not hard because you're not selling anything. You're giving agents what they need. A lot of agents see the value in it. So it's not a hard sell.
Wow. So if you gave all of that, imagine what someone could get in your playbook.
Exactly.
You've given a lot of great information. So who is the transaction coordinator business good for, right? Like, can someone do it part-time? What are your thoughts on that?
So the transaction coordinator business is good for any, I call them real estate enthusiasts, people that I have students that purchased a home and was like, you know what, I really like the process. I would be interested in learning more. Anybody that is looking for a work from anywhere opportunity, and just or anyone that wants to get their foot in the door in real estate, but don't necessarily want to sell homes or don't necessarily want to take the test or whatever the case. It's good for them. And who else? You were asking, part-time. So I've had students who had full-time jobs in a completely opposite or unrelated field. Obviously, 2020, many people are working from home. And when I tell you, in less than 60 days, she was working on 43 deals. She had 11 clients. So before I would say like, because I'm also a realtor. I'm like, you either in or you out. You can't, but I stand corrected. You absolutely can do it at the same time as something else, but you need to have a flexible job. Like you have to be able to keep your eyes. I don't know if you can get another monitor or something where you can have your TC emails up. You have to, it's going to take some arranging of your systems and things like that to make it work, but it's doable. You don't have to get into this business to make 6 figures. You can get into this business, get one client, close 5 a month, $2,000 a month. That's not too shabby.
No, it's not. I mean, 500 to 1,000 extra dollars changes a lot of people's worlds.
That's
changes
right.
their finances a lot. Wow. So tell us a little bit about your class that you host.
So you're talking about the masterclass.
Masterclass, yes.
Yeah. So I am doing a masterclass on November 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And in it, I will be going over kind of what we just talked about, how to be booked and busy TC. You know, but you have to, again, everything that I pretty much talked about today, I'm going to be talking about more in detail. So you have to have mindset talk, you have to have an attraction talk, which is what we talk about, processes and systems. That's my MAPS procedure. So mindset, attraction, processes, and systems. So we'll go over more in detail some of the things that I've learned along the way and what I did to start my business and grow it and launch it, like, you know, and be in six figures my first year. Again, you think twice about if you want to be in six figures or not, because, you know, you will, you know, if you want something that is, you know, where you can do it and not feel like you're working a whole lot, you know, then you don't have to, you know, be trying to get six figures and beyond, you know. So anyway, that's kind of what the class will be about. It's a master class. It's about an hour long, and I will be discussing at the very end, how you can work with me directly if you're interested in launching your TC business and actually growing one.
Got you. So I know you said that you started it, and we're going back to the beginning because I just thought of something, right? I know you said that you started it based off transactions with your mentor. Was your mentor TC or were they a realtor?
They were a realtor. So, you know, I got my license and my mentor was a top producing agent at the time. So if I'm the type of person, I go all into research mode when I get an idea about something that I want to do. So before I even got my license, because I love social media, I hashtagged Atlanta real estate agent. Who's working? Let me see who's out here working. So this particular young lady, we actually shared the same hairstylist. So I'm like, ooh, I got an in. Okay, let me call Keisha. So, you know, I reached out, and so it just so happened, again, timing, you know, because I've seen how many people my mentor has had to turn down before just because she didn't have the capacity to, you know, be somebody's mentor. But timing was right. It was Memorial Day. You know, we had been kind of playing phone tag talking, but she was going out of town and she needed somebody to open doors, you know, so that's kind of how I kind of got to know her. And so she was a top producing agent. And so she was just, you know, I would shadow her and, you know, but I was most interested in the contracts. Like, you know, how does this work? Why do we do this? What, you know, what are the strategies used to protect the buyer? What are the strategies used, you know, to protect the seller if I'm working on that side? You know what I mean? So that is kind of how that kind of, it kind of grew from there. And she's still my client to this day.
Wow. So how did you learn to grow the system?
Trial and error. So I worked with her, you know, her and her only from 2015 to 2017, I think. 2018, I got serious and, you know, got a bank account and LLC and all that kind of stuff. And so I, in working with her, just realized that I was able to kind of research and kind of see some things that other TCs were doing. So like there was a whole new world open. I don't know how I found out the name, but I saw it somewhere. I'm like, this is what I do. And so, you know, when I decided to get serious about it, it's just, I know what I like to see as a consumer. So I think that you're more credible if you have a way for me to reach you, you know, like the scheduler. You know, I feel like that's more I don't know, because I don't really want to call you out the blue. Most people aren't comfortable calling a new contact like, hey, just out the blue, because most people are busy, so I
Right.
like scheduler. So that kind of came up on my own part. And a lot of it was also stems from real estate, owning a real estate business as well. There's a lot of information out there on systems for real estate. So it's really not super different. And then as far as the LLC, part of my course, you can find all of this stuff on your own. I don't know how long it's going to take the person to, it took me a while, to come up with the steps, and, I made some mistakes, and things like that. So anybody could, just like the transaction coordinating, any agent can do their own transactions. We've all done it, but it's about, where do you want to see yourself in your business? How can this help you grow? So, again, with this, the information that I'm sharing isn't like some patented information on how to start a business. You can find it, but do you want it all in one place? Along with, which I didn't mention, the TC Playbook is more than just the course. So the course is self-led, so they're pre-recorded modules. However, we also have a private members only group where my students ask questions all day and all night that I'm available to answer. So I can't do one-on-one coaching. I don't have time to do that. But I can do Facebook and work at the same time. So, if somebody has a question, I can answer that. Then we have a monthly call the first Wednesday of every month where we talk about a specific subject, and we go over their wins, their challenges. And then I teach about a specific subject that's not necessarily in the modules. Like I touch on, that you have to get the settlement statement at the end. But my monthly class, we may dive into that. Like, here's a settlement statement. You're not the agent, so you don't need to, you don't need to do too much, but you definitely need to see if the contract said that there was a buyer credit that the seller was paying. You got to make sure that's on there. If you had to order a home warranty, you got to make sure that's on there. You got to make sure the sales price is right, and you got to make sure that commission is right. That's what you're looking at. So I can show you one-on-one or in a group setting what that is. So we have like mini trainings and things like that. So it's not just the course. You have access to me, just not necessarily where you can call me anytime, but you will get your questions answered.
Wow. Wow.
That's really, to me, more than anything, that's what you're paying for.
Right.
The most value. You need to learn the stuff, but to know that you have a team behind you. So like when you get my students have gotten their first clients, and they felt comfortable in doing that without knowing every single thing, because they knew that they had a team. Whatever they don't know, they can tell their clients, like, if the client knows that they're new, yeah, I'm new, but I have a whole team, that can help me if there's something that I need help with or whatever, you know what I mean? So it gives them that confidence.
Wow. So Courtney, this has been amazing. It's been eye-opening as to what your business was. And I saw you online. That's how I saw what you did, right?
Probably on the reel.
Yep, it was on the reel. It was on the reel. It was on the reel. So for anyone who's interested in using your services, how can they get in contact with you?
Great question. So the easiest way would probably be to, you can either find me on Instagram at Time Freedom TC. You can go to my website, www.timefreedomtc.com. From both of those locations, you can schedule some time for a 10 to 15 minute chat to make sure we are a good fit, because we're not a good fit for all agents. Everybody, some agents, they're not ready to hand those kind of things over yet. And that's fine, but you can kind of have that conversation and see if it will be a good fit. So that's how you can find me for that.
Awesome. And what if someone wants to start a TC business and they want to take part in the masterclass?
Yes. So you can find me on www.thetcplaybook.com. And there should be a link to the masterclass there. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Courtney Rosier. The link is there. Or you can find me on Instagram at the Work From Anywhere movement as well. And the link is there. And there's also a way for you to join my Facebook group, which is I think you can find it directly on Facebook. It's the Work From Anywhere movement.
Awesome.
That's a lot.
It is. We'll have links in the show notes. We'll get links from you so they can just click on the links and go to access you. Courtney, I appreciate your time. Thank you. This has been amazing. I definitely would like to come back and dig a little deeper, but for time constraints that we scheduled, I definitely appreciate it. And you have a good one.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem.